Talamoana Exiles, Talkative Try here with another Path of Exile 2 video. Today's video is packed to the brim with new PoE2 content, including a batch of new confirmed changes to PoE2, including some massive quality of life additions and skill gem updates that have been confirmed officially by the developers in new interviews with Catmaster OP and Zizaran. Then there is some drama surrounding Zizaran and accessibility, which in my expert opinion is entirely unwarranted. And it's sad to see people already going to the throats of people who are just a bit skeptical with certain changes and additions around Path of Exile 2. By no means is Ziz being negative in this little spout, but people are really taking everything he's saying far, far, far too hostily. Then we're going to talk about whether or not Path of Exile 2 is just an isometric Dark Souls, because that thread went absolutely fire last week on the Path of Exile subreddit, and there were thousands of comments on it. And then I need your help. We'll talk about that at the end of the video, but essentially I'm making two really large videos with the help of the community, and I would like your assistance on the matter. We're going to kick it off with a rapid fire listing of the confirmed changes to Path of Exile 2 to get it all straight to you as soon as possible. But before we do, make sure if you enjoy my videos and you would like to see all things Path of Exile 2, whether that's news, content additions, builds, and the like upon the launch of PoE2 and in the lead up to early access, you should subscribe to Talkative Try for all that content. It's super free and it is the best way to help this channel grow. Thank you for all your support in the recent week. It's been tremendous. Now into the information. So the first big confirmed change from the Catmaster and Jonathan interview is that you can change attributes on the passive skill tree without redoing the path in your passive skill tree. So for those of you who do not know, in Path of Exile 2, the travel nodes on the skill tree can be chosen. They can be strength, intelligence, or dexterity. They're not single types. So they're 5 for each, and you can respec them with gold at will. You don't need to travel 10 nodes back to respec a strength node into a dexterity node. You can just do that for a small gold fee. Now, you might be thinking that this isn't massive. Well, it is, due to the way skill gems and support gems are working in Path of Exile 2. Remember, now you have an allocated number of any gem of a particular attribute that you can use. For example, if you have a lot of strength, you can use 20 strength gems. If you have a medium amount of intelligence, say you can use 10 int gems. If you have almost no dexterity, you can only use 1 dexterity gem. If you find gems that work really well with your build and you need more of any specific attribute, yes, you can try to get it on your gear, or you can just easily respec the nodes on your passive skill tree without needing to path all the way back, which is absolutely phenomenal and a huge quality of life announcement from Grinding Gear Games. The next one also involves the passive skill tree and items. And the first part has already been confirmed and people have seen it in the game before. And that's the fact that now on your passive skill tree, you can see the impact per node that you allocate on your skills and character. So for example, say you have a Molten Strike skill gem. Well, if you hover over a node that gives you increased attack speed, it will showcase exactly how that will affect Molten Strike and the rest of your character. That's phenomenal, and we've seen that in game before. The other thing that we have not seen yet in game and was recently announced again in the Catmaster interview is this is also being added for items. So before you equip an item, it's going to show you how it's going to impact your character entirely in all the skills that you have. This means DPS changes for all the skill gems that you're going to be carrying on your character. And this is great because we're not just using one skill gem in Path of Exile 2 most of the time. We are using upwards of 9 or 10 skill gems. So this is going to be a huge feature that is going to allow us to quickly ascertain how impactful any one piece of gear might be. People might be familiar with the system in Diablo 4 that just showcases a green number and how green number is better, you equip green number. Well, this is going to be far more in depth because it's going to show the exact impact on your character and every individual skill that you are using. I'm going to be using this a ton, especially when I am experimenting with the vast new array of skills that are available in Path of Exile 2. The next is not from any interview, but I thought I would throw this in there. It was from the Path of Exile 2 Discord and one of the skill developers, Viperesque, and he confirmed when somebody asked, hey, Are unarmed archetypes going to exist in Path of Exile 2? Yes, they are. And they're not only just going to be attached to a unique item like in Path of Exile 1, the only real way you can do that is with a unique. There will be other ways to support said archetype, whether this is skill gems, whether this is an ascendancy, whether this is a specific weapon type. We don't know yet, but they have confirmed that that will be in the game. So you will be able to play a monk or other classes specifically shaped to be an unarmed warrior in PoE2, which is awesome. All the skills that we've seen thus far are just single-use combos that are unarmed that you use with quarterstaff. Skill gems like Stunning Palm and the like. Well, you're going to be able to full-on support an unarmed character in PoE2, so that was an awesome confirmation. Now, this was from the Zizaran interview with Jonathan Rogers at Gamescom, and he did confirm that map-wide environmental effects will not be in usual maps. So all that speculation that I did talking about, ooh, maybe this artificial sun mechanic where you have to hide in the shadows, otherwise you are being ticked down massively by a dot. This could be a part of the way that they're designing certain endgame maps in PoE2. That's not a thing. This will be reserved for unique maps and the like. This is not going to be a baseline feature in usual Path of Exile 2 endgame. Another confirmation from the Catmaster interview is that skill gems do not require experience now. You do not level up skill gems with experience or by killing monsters. You level up skill gems by finding uncut gems and leveling them up to maximum. Additionally, it sounds like max level skill gems can drop per Jonathan in this interview, so that would be level 20, although we've heard some conflicting information on the matter. Perhaps there's still stuff going on in grinding your games. They're still debating about whether or not they want max level gems to drop, or if they want you to have to upgrade them. I lean toward them being able to drop, because imagine having a max level uncut gem or gem drop in the game. That's probably a really good moment. And this entire reworking of the system really turns uncut skill gems and skill gems into a true chase item now. You are going to be working to upgrade all of your skills one by one by one, and uncut skill gems are probably going to always hold some value in the market. Another little skill gem or gem socket update here as well that we have known for a while, but I've not mentioned it on this channel and we haven't talked about it for a while. You will not be able to simply find skill gems that have a ton of sockets. As far as I understand, you will be finding items that you use to upgrade gem sockets at various levels. So you'll upgrade a gem from 2 sockets to 3 sockets using a certain item, and this item grows in power, allowing it to change gems from just 2 socket gems all the way to 5 socket gems. The rarity of these is unknown, whether or not they're a random drop or it's going to be a certain mechanic in the game, also unknown, but I really want to see how this works out. And some people think, due to the wording of how Jonathan explained it, that this might be a character-wide thing. I don't think it's a character-wide thing. I think it's a gem-by-gem upgrade, which, like I said before, is turning the upgrading of skills and your character into a long-term thing. This isn't something that you're going to be able to just quickly snap your fingers and finish all the upgrades on your characters and skills. No, you're going to have to work at this over time. One final cool tidbit of information from the Zizaran interview: there are ways to edit your dodge roll in PoE2 to turn it either into a teleport with a skill gem that reserves 100 spirit. You literally just teleport somewhere instead of dodging. And there's a unique item for phasing specifically, so it turns your dodge roll into a phase, which is awesome because right now it doesn't phase when you dodge. This is interesting to see that they're going to have numerous ways to edit your dodge roll. We've heard about cast on dodge before, and that there will be numerous ways to edit your dodge roll. So just seeing 2 examples of this is interesting. I wonder if there's going to be ways to support the teleport gem, how that exactly works. Can we make our own frost blink or flame dash, reserving a ton of spirit here? We'll just have to see. I am a little curious on the balance here. I don't know if it gives a cooldown to dodge either, or if you can just keep teleporting over and over and over and over again. It is a big trade-off spending 100 spirit to reserve this, of course, because you won't be able to use your spirit for offensive or defensive auras or minions. You're just using it for this teleport gem. But you know, we'll find out soon enough once we get access to early access on November 15th, 2024. Okay, we're moving away from the new information, and now we're going to talk a little bit about the drama in the Path of Exile 2 community surrounding Zizaran, and then whether or not Path of Exile 2 is just an isometric Dark Souls. Let's start off with the Zizaran stuff. So Zizaran had yet another great interview with Jonathan Rogers, the game director on Path of Exile 2, and in it, he asked Jonathan Rogers about accessibility in the game. This is the actual question. I think it's important that you see the question itself, and we'll talk about Jonathan's answer and the drama surrounding it in a brief moment. Let's roll the clip.
And then if you should be rewarded for taking advantage of those things.
See, I have a question about that. Like you said, there does seem to be a more focus on switching between skills. And I figured some of the build guides I have, for example, Righteous Fire, which is like a very, like, you don't even need any buttons. I will actually intro that with, like, this is actually really good for disabled players that might be able to live. How does that fit into Path of Exile 2 if you are heavily incentivized to use multiple skills?
Okay, so Jonathan kind of responds and says, yeah, 1-2 button builds will be possible in Path of Exile 2, but people will be encouraged to use combos. Of course, this is the answer Jonathan has been giving all the time. Now, the Path of Exile community kind of pounced on Zizaran and said he was disingenuous in asking Jonathan this question, knowing that the answer would be combos are encouraged in PoE2, but 1 or 2 button builds are viable. And people also just kept going on and on and on and saying that Zizaran is very negative about PoE2. It seems like he doesn't like it. It sounds like every single time he makes a video about it or talks about it, he's negative about the game and how he should just stay away from the community, essentially, which is wild to hear, seeing as though he is the largest Path of Exile creator out there, and he's been around for quite some time. Now, Zizaran, of course, is one of the most influential people in the entire content creation sphere for Path of Exile, and will be for Path of Exile 2 as well. It is his job to communicate the fears and desires of the community to the game director when he has the ability to do so. He also is unafraid of speaking his mind, which is wonderful. And if he has a healthy degree of skepticism about the game, he should express that. This is perfectly fine. I did this when I played the game in March, and I had a lot of negative thoughts around the game. I expressed those to all of you. I expressed those to Jonathan, and you know what they did? They made some changes for the better of the game while sticking true to their overall vision of it. Because I think what a lot of people are worried about is that the community will be able to dictate how exactly Path of Exile 2 is designed and change the game for the worse, like what's happened to other games out there. I don't think that's what's happening with Path of Exile 2. I think Jonathan Rogers, Mark Roberts, and the rest of the Grinding Gear Games team has a very clear vision for what they want in this game. And just because people are giving some feedback on it that might be extremely critical or not mesh well with the overall design of the game, that doesn't mean they're going to make sweeping changes, no matter how large the content creator is, right? This is perfectly fine for Ziz to express these opinions, especially because this particular question about accessibility was from one of his viewers. And people are just concerned about this facet of PoE2. And it's good that Jonathan reiterates that yes, 1 or 2 button builds will be possible in PoE2, but it's not going to be the baseline or the norm like in Path of Exile 1. Path of Exile 1 right now can probably be just played with your mind. You know those videos? I don't know. I get videos on Twitter of some girl playing Elden Ring and Dark Souls with her mind. I bet you could do that in Path of Exile 1 right now. You can just press one button and just control your character and basically be fine. You could probably play on a Dance Dance Revolution mat. I think one of my viewers, Kaylin, has done that in the past too. In Path of Exile 2, that's going to be far, far more difficult, but not impossible. And people who have to persevere and overcome these challenges in their own lives will probably be able to play Path of Exile 2 without an issue. It's just going to require some ingenuity. It's honestly ridiculous that people are going after Ziz for being disingenuous. I think he's very genuine when it comes to everything surrounding content creation and Path of Exile. I've talked to him in person, of course. I've been watching his videos for a while, and he really does speak his mind. He goes no holds barred with Path of Exile, and just because he's inserting a little bit of skepticism and negativity surrounding the game doesn't mean we should go after him or attack him or anything like that. It's good for the game. It's good to bring up your fears and worries once in a while. I think that this drama is quite silly, honestly. But you know what isn't silly? Everybody talking about Path of Exile 2 just being a Dark Souls isometric game. It's absolutely ridiculous, everyone. There was a tremendous thread on the Path of Exile 1 subreddit a few days ago, and it's talking about someone's experiences playing the Sorceress from level 1 to level 22 at Gamescom. Now, they had a lot of thoughts about the game. Honestly, it seems like it was mostly negative, but the comments devolved into Path of Exile 2 becoming the isometric Dark Souls, and people's fears and worries being brought to the surface, and this really not looking like a game that they'll want to play. Now, I will reiterate here, a lot of the problems that this particular user pointed out with the game, I think they were skill issues, okay? And a lot of this, seemingly, from the comments, is just confirmation bias. Lots of people are just saying this is ruthless with a fresh coat of paint. This game is just to torture Path of Exile 1 players, and just absolutely ridiculous stuff, everyone. You can go check it out. It's going to be in the description if you'd like to read it, just like all the other sources I've talked about in this particular video. But I wanted to give my take on this particular little issue here. Path of Exile 2 is not just an isometric Dark Souls. I've played Souls-like games before. Path of Exile 2 is entirely different. The only difference, the only thing that people are for some reason they're fixated on this fact, Path of Exile 2, it has engaging combat. That doesn't mean it's a Souls-like. That doesn't mean it's Dark Souls with a PoE coat of paint slapped upon it. It still has all the various systems that made us love Path of Exile 1. It has the massive passive skill tree. It has a deep and complex skill gem system. It's going to have ascendancy classes. You're going to be able to build a witch that can use a crossbow and fire off grenades, probably while having a weapon swap to a massive hammer that you can use to bring down a hammer of the gods upon all of your enemies. It just looks phenomenal combat-wise. And truly, that is the big difference between Path of Exile 1 and Path of Exile 2. And people have become so used to basically optimizing away any combat at all in Path of Exile 1 and not understanding that combat in PoE 1 is almost meaningless, that seeing Path of Exile 2's combat and it being so impactful, so well designed, that it's turning them off it for some reason. A lot of the people on the Path of Exile 1 subreddit probably exclusively play Path of Exile 1 or ARPGs in which the combat honestly isn't the best. Even in Last Epoch or Diablo 4, Diablo 3, or any other ARPGs out there, the combat is always the weak point. Path of Exile 2 seeks to be an innovative force in not only the ARPG genre, but the entire industry. It is setting the baseline for ARPG combat, and truly, I think it might just redefine the genre or create one of its own. There's nothing like this game in the market right now, and I doubt there will be anything like it in the future. A game in which the combat is actually compelling, deep, challenging, and looks this good, with all the customization options you have at hand, that's unprecedented. So I couldn't be more excited for it, and I couldn't think that these individuals saying it's just Dark Souls, but Path of Exile couldn't be more wrong. They really couldn't be. But you let me know in the comments below, what, do you think they're right? Do you think that this is just Dark Souls, but Path of Exile? I mean, Mark Roberts did say that the bosses had Souls-like abilities, but all that means is that they're well telegraphed. They're fair. Because we have to 100 to 0 the bosses. That's it. Everything else is just classic Path of Exile. Okay, drama time's over and I need your help, Exiles. I have a series of videos coming out, well, probably 2 videos, that I already asked Twitter and the YouTube community via a community post about, but I think I can reach more people with a YouTube video given the awesome performance as of late. I need your hottest Path of Exile 2 hot take. I'm talking something that'll be super spicy and will stir up some crazy discussion, both here on YouTube, on Reddit, on Discord, on Twitter, everywhere. Because it's going to be a little bit before we get some news, but that doesn't mean we cannot talk about Path of Exile 2. We just learned a bunch of new information. We have been watching it cook since 2019, and it's oh so near on November 15th. I'd like to hear everybody's wildest opinions out the game and showcase them here in a YouTube video. Now I'm making 2 videos, the best hot takes and the worst hot takes, because there have been some bad hot takes that I'm looking forward to showcasing to all of you. So please, in the comments below, give me your hottest Path of Exile 2 take, and you might be showcased in the next video. Like I said before, liking the video if you liked it and subscribing to the channel, those are the two best ways to support the channel and help Talkative Try grow. I am hoping to surge right past my goal of 25,000 subscribers before the end of the year and hopefully bubble up all the way to 100K, which is something everybody keeps talking about. That would be absolutely unreal, and it would push me closer to actually being able to turn this into something tangible and something that I could do a lot more of. Thank you all so much for your support. I'll see you in the next video. Talakura, my fellow exile.